Impact Wrestling is no longer the raging dumpster fire it used to be, and the promotion's name certainly isn't the pejorative that TNA still is. For better or worse, those initials will always be linked with high-level failure, despite many of the great things that came out of the company. And when you were associated with them, there were, certain connotations, shall we say. The TNA stink was a real thing for a long time. Today, we pay tribute to the wrestlers who had stints in TNA but have managed to shake off the stench and thrive under the WWE umbrella. I'm Andy for What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE stars who managed to shake off the TNA stink. Number 10, R-Truth. Far away from what audiences had seen from him during his K-Quick days in the then WWF, the Ron Killings of TNA was a performer who had made himself into a must-watch act in American wrestling, and for TNA, he gave them a star who they could hang their hat on during the first year of their operations. Killings appeared for TNA from 2002 until 2007, although the majority of that run would see him usually competing in the tag ranks as part of Free Live Crew. That didn't stop WWE from bringing Killings back into the fold in 2008, and he remains a prevalent part of WWE programming to this day, and he even enjoyed the briefest of brief flirtations with the main event scene back in 2011. Number 9. Christian. Once held back because Vince McMahon reportedly didn't like his face, Christian didn't become a true main eventer until leaving WWE in 2005, becoming a genuine difference maker as TNA's instant classic. Christian Cage was immediately placed in the main event scene upon signing with TNA and soon became the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Skipping ahead to his WWE return in 2009, many presumed that Christian would just fit back into the same sort of spot that he'd occupied for the company during his previous run, with those sentiments only further reiterated when he was immediately put back on the doomed ECW brand. So it's testament to him that not only was he able to shake off the TNA stink, but he also managed to finally win Vince McMahon over and get that crack at becoming a main event level talent for the company. Number 8, Marcus Corvon. The case of Marcus Corvon is a fascinating one due to the fact that he appeared to have shaken off the proverbial stink and was set for big things in WWE very quickly, only for Corvon to depart the company after just 10 months. As Monty Brown in TNA, the dynamic, powerful performer became one of the company's hottest rising stars as he tangled with the likes of AJ Styles, Christian Cage and Sting. And given the look and charisma of the alpha male, it came as no surprise to see WWE pick him up in November 2006. But due to the tragic death of his sister, the former NFL star was granted his WWE release in September 2007, hanging up his boots to look after her children. There will always be a case of what could have been when it comes to Marcus Corvon, but his decision to step away from the ring to care for his family speaks volumes about somebody often labelled as one of the most genuine and sincere people in the business. Number 7, CM Punk. CM Punk originally looked like the furthest thing imaginable from what Vince McMahon used to look for in a wrestler. As such, Ring of Honor and TNA looked like they might be the ceiling for the Second City Saint. Of course, we know now that Punk did end up in WWE by 2005, and after his fair share of ups and downs, he made himself the hottest star in the industry for a while. But for a year before that, Punk was busy in TNA performing as part of Raven's Flock knockoff The Gathering. And on top of that, if it wasn't for the shocking and disgusting Rob Feinstein controversy, look it up, Punk's time in TNA may have continued on even beyond March 2004 when he originally left. Number 6, Samoa Joe. While we can probably all agree that, yeah, it would have been pretty nice to see WWE give Joe a run with one of the company's top titles by now, you can't look past the fact that the Samoan submission machine has regularly been used at or near the top of a card during his WWE run. I mean, the guy wrestled Brock Lesnar on pay-per-view. He's had a good run, is what I'm saying. WWE have often placed Samoa Joe in key spots across their programming, yet the sad reality of the situation is that Joe has developed an unfortunate habit of picking up injuries at the worst possible times over the past few years. On a more positive note, there does appear to be plenty left in the tank for Samoa Joe, so maybe we'll get to see him with one one of WWE's biggest prizes before all is said and done in the career of this former TNA mainstay. Number 5. Jeff Hardy. Though he first became a star in WWE ages ago, Jeff Hardy has had to overcome the TNA stink on 2 separate occasions. Even though he'd no-showed several TNA events in the months prior, WWE brought Jeff back into the company for the first time in 2006 after 3 years away. Not only that, but the company went on to give him a run as WWE Champion and World Heavyweight Champion. But again, Jeff will be gone from Vince McMahon's world by August 2009. What followed was a 7-year run with TNA, with reinventions from Jeff as Willow and Brother Nero just some of his standout moments. The moments that many thought would rule Hardy out of ever returning to WWE, however, was Victory Road 2011, where, as we all know, Jeff came to the ring in no state to perform. I mean, look at the image, lads, it says it all, really. Still, WWE has been willing to give Jeff Hardy the benefit of the doubt several times over the years, and that WrestleMania return pop after leaving TNA was one of the loudest ever. Number 4. Sting. Not only was Sting able to overcome the TNA stink, but he also overcame the infamous stink of late WCW to eventually make it to the promised land of Vince McMahon's WWE. To be fair, Sting is Sting, as in a true icon of the pro wrestling business. The thing is, likewise, Vince is Vince, and so it seemed to be that Sting would go down as the one WCW megastar who never once competed in a WWE ring. Sting first showed up in TNA in 2003. Out of all the available free agents at the time, he was comfortably the biggest name that the company could have landed, and from there, he went on to compete for the company across the next 11 years, becoming a 4-time world champion and a huge important part of any success they had. And despite Sting's heavy association with WCW and TNA, WWE eventually ironed out an agreement for him to begin a loose working relationship with the company in 2014. What began as talking head interviews, a DVD release, action figures, and a gaming appearance would go on to see the Stinger wrestle in a WWE ring for the very first time at WrestleMania 31 against Triple H, which maybe could have been a good match until they decided to turn it into WWE versus WCW and regurgitate a war that ended over a decade prior. Vince gonna Vince. Number 3. Zelina Vega. Whether it was in NXT or on the main roster, Zelina's charisma and confident character work have been one of the most entertaining parts of whatever WWE show she has ever found herself on. At the age of just 21, Zelina Vega was already on TNA television as Rosita. She was part of the Mexican America stable alongside Hernandez, Anarquia, and her storyline cousin Sarita. But unlike some of the others on this list, Rosita's run was actually quite short, and she was only in TNA for 2 years. Leaving TNA in 2013, she competed for the likes of Ring of Honor, Shine, and Global Force Wrestling, before signing an NXT contract in June 2017. And while initially some fans were a little disappointed that we didn't get to see her wrestle more often, there's no doubt that she has struck gold as Zelina Vega and is now one of the best managers in the entire business. Number 2. Xavier Woods. To newer wrestling fans, the New Day might be viewed as the greatest tag team in WWE history. Now, whether you agree with that statement or not, they are ridiculously successful, and Woods is a big part of that. Before he signed with WWE in 2010, he had spent 3 years in TNA under the moniker of Consequences Creed. He was a fun character who fans couldn't help but gravitate towards, but one with a clear ceiling, and he was never quite able to break out from the tag team ranks. Despite an uneventful first year or so on the WWE main roster, the tail end of 2014 into the first half of 2015 saw the New Day really start to take off, and for Woods, it was the first time his career in WWE had done the same. And now, in 2020, the past 5 years have seen them become one of the most popular acts in the entire company, complete with shilling a ridiculous amount of merchandise over that time. And now, on top of that, Woods is making moves outside the ring as well with Up, Up, Down, Down. He's a very successful man, and it's hard to see him ever hitting this level with TNA. And at number 1, AJ Styles. TNA originals don't get any more original than AJ Styles. AJ spent 12 years doing everything in his power to make that brand mean something. He was pivotal to any semblance of success that TNA received during its tentative years, with the organization's X division drawing eyes to the product in a similar way to what had happened with WCW and their cruiserweights. The point is, AJ Styles was Mr. TNA for the longest time. Whatever TNA wanted him to do, AJ did it. Whether that meant anchoring the X division, carrying the ball as world champion, parading around as Ric Flair Jr., or the awful Claire Lynch storyline, AJ did everything that he was told. And according to wrestling lore, it was Triple H who was the main proponent of AJ Styles going to WWE in the first place, and Vince McMahon initially saw nothing in him other than being a good hand on the mid-card. Now, here we are in 2020, AJ is fresh off facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania 36, and he has 2 WWE title runs in his back pocket, solidifying his stance as one of the greatest of all time. So that's our list, but what do you guys think, and can you think of any others? Let us know down in the comments section below. After that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Then you can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and myself at Andy H. Murray, where you can tell me how wrong I am. Bye!